All right. Hello and welcome, families, to tonight's event. My name is Natalie Umania, and I work at Doherty High School and Doherty Unified through the LA County Office of Education Community Schools Initiative. We are so happy to have you here at our workshop for families across LA County. We want to hear where you're from, so please tell us which school, which district, or community you represent by typing it in the chat. Before we begin, I do want to let you know that this session is being recorded. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Terry Malone with the IRS.
All right, thank you very much, Natalie. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Terry Malone. I'm a senior stakeholder liaison with the Internal Revenue Service up here in the beautiful San Francisco Bay Area. On behalf of the Internal Revenue Service, I'd like to welcome you to this evening's presentation. And I want to extend an extreme warm thank you to Natalie Yamana for arranging this event, and a big thank you to the families of LACO for taking out some time to attend this evening's event. We have quite a bit of information that we're going to cover tonight. And what that will include is we're going to take a look at who must file a tax return. We'll also take a look at who should file a tax return. And then we're going to share with you some options in getting those tax returns prepared free of charge. We're also going to talk about a number of changes to some refundable credits that can significantly affect your families in a very, very good way. While we have dedicated some time at the end of tonight's presentation to a formal Q&A, question and answer period, I would like to let you know that you can submit any questions that you have throughout tonight's presentation by typing it into the chat feature. What I'll be doing while the presenters are delivering the content is I will try to answer as many questions as I can get to before we actually get to the actual Q&A portion. And as Natalie mentioned, this presentation is being recorded, so you will have an opportunity to go back and take a look at it at a later date. Now, let me introduce this evening's presenters. Roy Cheney and Lionel Carrillo are senior stakeholder liaisons out of our Los Angeles area offices. We have quite a bit to get through tonight, so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Roy Cheney to get us started. Roy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Terry and Lionel, for this great opportunity to speak with you guys tonight. So now let's talk about who must file for a second. Here is a chart to make sense of the qualifications. First, you must choose your filing status, whether it be single, married filing joint, married filing separate, head of household, or qualifying widower, as determined by going through a series of questions. You see here the basic income thresholds are as follows: $12,550 for single, $25,100 for married filing joint. Married filing separate is $5, and it's specifically set for that reason. Head of household is $18,800, and qualifying widower is $25,100, all of which you can see will be increased if you are over age of 65, and what's not stated here is if you're legally blind. So next here we have something a little different. On the next 3 slides, what I'm going to do is I'll cover some of the situations that describe when you should file, even if you're not required to file. And we'll just go through these as written to make it simple. So again, even if a taxpayer is not required to file a federal income tax return, you should file if you had a federal income tax withheld from your pay, pension, Social Security, or other income. An example of other income would be unemployment compensation. If you qualify for the earned income credit, if you qualify for a refundable child tax credit or the additional child tax credit, if you qualify for a refundable credit for child and dependent care expenses, if you qualify for a refundable American Opportunity Credit, which is an education credit for college, if you qualify for the premium tax credit, which is healthcare, if you qualify for a recovery rebate credit, either didn't receive an economic impact payment or received less than the amount that you're eligible for, if you're required to file a California state tax return. And lastly, you want to file a zero income return. You would do this to prevent tax identity theft, to possibly claim a state credit or for other assistance. Now, these returns with zero or no refund and no balance due need to be paper filed. It cannot be filed electronically. Now, once you've determined that you either want to file or have a filing requirement, there's some decisions you need to make on how to complete your filing. We have two ways. The IRS free file, where you can complete your taxes for free online. You can also use our voluntary income tax assistance, or VITA for short. After you've gathered all of your paperwork, go to our VITA site for the preparation and electronic filing. But please remember to be aware of those ghost preparers or fraudulent preparers. It's extremely important to be wary of ghost preparers. So let's define a ghost preparer as one that may charge a fee to prepare your return, but not sign it as a preparer, create false deductions to reduce taxable income, and also create false income to increase refundable credits, to boost refund amounts. The IRS has a list of credentialed tax preparers. You can view the list by searching www.irs.gov using key search phrase, choosing a tax preparer. The bottom line is you are ultimately responsible for what's included on your tax return, whether you pay somebody to prepare it or not. So please be diligent in selecting a tax preparer. So next we're going to talk about individual taxpayer identification numbers, or ITINs for short. The Internal Revenue Code 6109 allows IRS to issue identifying taxpayer identification numbers for tax purposes. Let's discuss what they are and their purpose. Generally, a taxpayer identification number, or TIN, is a Social Security number, or SSN. Individuals not eligible to receive a Social Security number still need a taxpayer identification number for U.S. tax purposes, must apply for an ITIN. An ITIN is a 9-digit tax processing number issued by the IRS that is formatted like a Social Security number. Each ITIN begins with the number 9. It has fourth and fifth digit, ranges from 50 to 65, 70 to 88, 90 to 92, and also 94 to 99. ITINs are for U.S. federal tax purposes only and are issued to individuals who have a U.S. filing or tax reporting requirement and are not eligible to obtain a Social Security number from the Social Security Administration. ITINs are issued regardless of immigration status, as both resident and non-resident aliens may have a U.S. filing or reporting requirements. ITINs do not serve any purpose other than federal tax reporting and are not intended for use outside of the federal tax system. ITINs help individuals comply with U.S. tax laws, encourage voluntary tax compliance, and provide a means to returns and payments. So when an ITIN holder receives a Social Security number, they should notify IRS immediately so we can merge both of those accounts together into one account. Important notes is that an ITIN does not make you eligible to work in the United States. Let me repeat that because it's very important. Having an ITIN does not make you eligible to work in the United States. And lastly, ITINs are issued regardless of your immigration status. So now if you've concluded that you needed an ITIN, let's discuss how to obtain an ITIN. Taxpayers should complete the latest version of Form W-7, Application for Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, which is available on irs.gov website. Taxpayers will need to ensure they check the box that says apply for a new ITIN or renew an existing ITIN and submit all required documentation, including original documents, certified copies of documents by issuing agencies. Documents must be consistent with the applicant's information provided on the Form W-7. For example, if you had a name change due to a marriage, you must attach a copy of your marriage certificate to verify that change. Additionally, you must check a valid reason for applying, which would include the following. Number 1, a non-resident alien filing a U.S. federal tax return, or 2, a U.S. resident alien, or 3, a dependent of a U.S. citizen or resident alien. There are 3 options to submit a Form W-7 application for renewal of an ITIN. The first one states a taxpayer can renew by submitting the Form W-7 and their required documentation directly to IRS by U.S. postal mail. Processing time is usually about 7 weeks. Could be 9 to 11 weeks during peak processing periods, and also if you're filing from abroad. Original or certified copies of documents from the issuing agency that are submitted with the application will be returned within 60 days, and applicants should contact the IRS if they haven't received their original documents back within that time frame. Now, the other two options are actually in person. An alternative to mailing your Form W-7 includes use of an authorized certifying acceptance agent, or CAA. A CAA is an important part of the ITIN application process. CAAs meet with taxpayers and conduct an interview to determine ITIN eligibility, either face-to-face or through this video technology. So be advised that CAAs can charge a fee for their services. We'll share some information with you shortly regarding the CAA's role, also the benefits of you actually becoming a CAA. Lastly, another alternative to mailing the Form W-7 directly to IRS is for you as a taxpayer to visit an IRS designated taxpayer assistance center, or commonly referred to as a TAC office. Designated TAC locations can review the Form W-7, authenticate all original or certified copies of the documents for primary or secondary taxpayers, as well as the passport, national identification card, birth certificate for dependents. To use this service, taxpayers must schedule an appointment before visiting the location. Appointments can be scheduled by calling 844-545-5640. So I know we've been on for a while. I know we've covered a lot of information, so just bear with me a little longer. So let's talk about some common reasons for why the W-7 would have processing delays. Some delays could be caused by the following. The actual reason for submitting your W-7 box is not checked. The reason for submitting Form W-7 box is checked incorrectly, and not submitting the required original identification documents or certified copies from the issuing agency with Form W-7. Other common errors are when taxpayers are not submitting the required documents for proof of U.S. residency for their dependents. Proof of U.S. residency for applicants who are dependents. A passport that doesn't have a date of entry won't be accepted as a standalone identification document for dependents unless they are dependents of U.S. military personnel stationed overseas. In these cases, applicants will be required to submit at least one of the following original documents in addition to the passport to prove your U.S. residency. If under 6 years of age, a U.S. medical record, a school record, a U.S. state identification card that lists the applicant's name and U.S. address, or a U.S. visa. If you're at least 6 years of age, but under 18 years of age, a U.S. school record, a U.S. state identification card again, or a driver's license that lists the applicant's name and U.S. address, or a U.S. visa. And if you're 18 years of age or older, again, a U.S. school record, rental statement from a U.S. property, utility bill for a U.S. property, or a bank statement, U.S. state identification card, or a driver's license that lists the applicant's name and U.S. address, or a U.S. visa. Now, please note, applicants claimed as dependents on prior year returns also must prove U.S. residency if the passport doesn't have a date of entry, unless the applicant is from Canada or Mexico, or is a dependent of U.S. military personnel stationed overseas. In these cases, applicants will be required to submit at least one of the original documents from the list earlier, in addition to the passport, to prove their U.S. residency. Submitting a federal tax return with an expired ITIN. Until the ITIN is renewed, a return with an expired ITIN will be processed treated as timely filed, but it will be processed without certain tax benefits or benefits which may decrease a refund or result possibly in a balance due. So when renewing an expired ITIN, all family members associated with a single return can renew at the same time if at least one of the family members' ITIN is expiring. Therefore, if a taxpayer is renewing an existing ITIN, they may submit their Form W-7 renewal application without attaching a tax return. But if renewing a spouse or dependent and they are claiming an allowable tax benefit, for example, any of the refundable or non-refundable credits, then you must attach a federal return to prove the allowable benefit for head of household status and other credits available. Lionel will discuss more later on these other credits. And lastly, just to reiterate, submitting a Form W-7 for a spouse or dependent without a federal tax return. Because again, you must prove an allowable tax benefit that is supported by a federal tax. Again, I know this is a lot, but take heed. It's all pertinent information. So now let's discuss, as we talked about earlier, certifying acceptance agents or CAAs, who they are and what they do. CAAs are critical to the success of the ITIN program because of their proximity and availability to taxpayers who need ITIN. CAA organizations include educational institutions, financial institutions, government entities, including the military, some community-based organizations, and also tax practitioners. CAAs facilitate the ITIN application process by verifying foreign status, identity of applicants, and mail the complete application package directly to IRS. This allows taxpayers to keep their original documents instead of submitting them to IRS. CAAs must have the original or certified copies of documents in hand during the interview to authenticate the document. CAAs can authenticate all acceptable ITIN documents for primary and secondary taxpayers, except for the foreign military card. They can't do that. For dependents, CAAs can only authenticate passports and birth certificates. All other documents must be an original certified copy from the issuing agency, wherever it came from. Additionally, CAAs facilitate the ITIN process by completing and submitting Form W-7 with the required documents and tax return to IRS. CAAs also receive copies of ITIN notices, have a direct telephone number to the ITIN operation in Austin, Texas to inquire about your status of W-7 applicant. IRS is still actively recruiting certifying agents and accepting Form 13551 applications year-round. This is being done to increase the availability of ITIN services nationwide, particularly in communities with a high ITIN usage. Hopefully we have some candidates in here who want to become a CAA. If so, just visit our website at www.irs.gov/ITIN agent. Then you must complete Form 13551, the application to participate in the IRS Acceptance Agent Program. Next, you must complete the mandatory acceptance agent training, which is available on our website as well. And lastly, complete your forensic document training. This is for you to obtain the necessary skills needed to determine the authenticity of identification documents accepted by the ITIN program. The original certificate of completion with the embossed seal must be attached to the Form 13551 with the mandatory certificate and other required documentations. For example, if you're an enrolled agent, your enrolled agent card, if you have one. So here's some helpful information on ITINs that's located on our IRS website. On our homepage, it provides helpful links to available ITIN subject matter and information. On our ITIN expiration frequently asked questions or facts, it provides information on ITIN expiration and addresses some common questions and how to become an acceptance agent. This provides information on the acceptance agent's application process and requirements. Again, all of which can be found on irs.gov. So now that we've talked about who must file, who should file, let's take a closer look at why you should file or even should file if you don't have a filing requirement as previously discussed. For tax year 2021, there are several child-related tax credits that you may be eligible for. These credits include the child tax credit, the earned income tax credit, and the child independent care credit. These credits may be refundable to you, which means that you might receive a refund, even if you're not required to file a tax. Additionally, there are other tax credits, deductions, savings plans that can help taxpayers with their expenses for higher education. Another refundable credit that we will discuss is the recovery rebate credit, which is related to the economic impact payments that you may have received during the 2021 year. You can find more information about this if you want to by going to our publication 5585, Child-Related Tax Credits. So I'm done for the day. Now I will turn the presentation over to my colleague, Lionel Carrillo, to further explain to you these tax credits information in more detail. Lionel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Roy. I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lionel Carrillo. I'm a stakeholder liaison with the Internal Revenue Service. I've been with the service for a little bit more over 30 years. Born and raised in Baldwin Park, have a lot of family in Azusa. I attended Citrus College and made some good friends over there. In fact, one of them, Michelle Trail, works at Doherty High School. So I'm glad to, in a way, come home and visit you guys again. But enough about me. Let's talk about maximizing your refund. Or in essence, let's talk about the American Rescue Plan. And what it did was it raises the maximum qualifying age for the child tax credit, increases the maximum credit amount. It makes the credit fully refundable. And when we talk about fully refundable, that means money in your pocket. It removes the minimum income requirement. One of the things that Roy mentioned was the situation where you may not have to file a return, but you're going to want to. So if, say, 2021 wasn't a good year for you, you didn't make that much money, or you didn't earn any money, and you have a family, you have children, you're going to want to file a return because there's money sitting on the table waiting for you. And this, it also provided for an advance payment that's available to you. Now, the enhanced child tax credit for 2021, you can receive up to $3,600 for each child age 5 and under, $3,000 for each child age 6 through 17 at the end of 2021. I guess if this credit had been available when I was a kid with my parents, I think there were 7 of us, and that would have been like 21,000. So this is something you want to take a look at and see if it applies to you. Again, no income is required to claim this credit for 2021. So even though you think I didn't work at all, or I didn't work that much, they didn't take that much out of my paycheck, I shouldn't have to file. That's true, you don't have to, but you're gonna want to because there's money there waiting for you. Now, your qualifying child is gonna have to have a social security number. Children with ITINs don't qualify for this credit. Now, the qualifying child must be claimed as a dependent on your return. And the qualifying child must have lived with the taxpayer for more than half the year. There's some exceptions for temporary absences. The qualifying child can include a foster child or an extended family. An example of extended family could be like your niece or nephew. Now, dependents who don't qualify you for the child tax credit may qualify you for the credit for other dependents, which can be up to $500 for dependent. Now, there was an advanced child tax credit for 2021. So what happened was there were some advance payments that were made in 2021. Now, how did the IRS determine how much to send to you? Well, they looked at your last year's tax return, whether it be 2019 or 2020. And from that, they paid out a monthly payment from July 15th through December 15th, 2021. And it consisted of about 50% of what we guessed you would qualify for in 2021. Now, this was a one-time event, and it's not going to be repeated in 2022. So what that means, when you file your 2021 return, you're going to have to reconcile the advance payments you receive when you file your tax return. So you're going to have to compare the advance payments you got with what you qualify for when you file your 2021 return. Now, the quickest way to get your refund, you're going to want to go ahead and file your return electronically and choose direct deposit. Now, when you file your return, if you find that you weren't paid enough or you're entitled to additional a child tax credit, you can claim that extra credit on your tax return. Now, if you find that you got more than you're entitled to, you may find yourself having to pay back some or all of that amount. Now, in January 2022, the IRS started sending out the letter 6419 that provided the total amount of the advanced child tax credit payments that you received in 2021. So you're going to want to hang on to that letter for your tax records. When you file your return, you're going to want to have that. You're going to need the numbers coming off of that letter. Okay. Now, another thing that happened in 2021, it was a busy year for us, is that there was the third economic impact payment and recovery rebate credit. So if you didn't get your third payment or didn't receive the full amount that you're entitled to, when you file your 2021 return, you can go ahead and claim that amount. Now, here's what you're going to need to do. The IRS issued out a letter 6475 that sent you how much was, that shows the amount that was sent to you. So file your 2021 return, claim the recovery rebate credit, even if you don't have a filing requirement. This is another situation where even though you may not have worked, there's money waiting for you. There's money sitting at the table for you. Now, a little bit more about this recovery rebate credit. Now, for couples or for individuals with a valid Social Security number, they were entitled to $1,400. For married couples, it was $2,800 if both of them have a valid Social Security number. In addition to that, for each qualifying dependent, it was $1,400 with a valid Social Security number. Again, if you didn't get the full amount of the first or second economic payment, you may, what happened in 2020, they went ahead and issued out a payment in those years. If you didn't get those, you can still file a 2020 tax return to claim the first and second economic payment. Now, if you did file a 2020 return and you did not claim the correct amount or you didn't claim the full amount, you can file an amended tax return. Now I want to go ahead and talk about some changes to the Earned Income Tax Credit. For 2021 only, more childless workers and couples can qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit. It's a fully refundable tax benefit that helps many low and moderate income workers and working families. That's because the maximum credit is nearly triple for these taxpayers, and for the first time made available to both younger workers and senior citizens age 65 and above. In 2021, the maximum earned income tax credit for those with no qualifying children is $1,502. That's up from $538 in 2020. There's money available for you here. Available to filers with your adjusted gross income that's below $21,430. If you're married filing jointly, that amount is $27,380. It can be claimed by eligible workers who are at least 19 years of age or 18 in the case of qualified former foster youth or qualified homeless youth. Certain full-time students under age 24 don't qualify. In the past, the earned income tax credit for those with no qualified children was only available to people between the ages of 25 and 64. Another change applies to taxpayers with and without qualified children. So for 2021, it allows them to choose to figure their earned income tax credit using their 2019 earned income, as long as it was higher than their 2021 earned income. What happens is the way this credit is computed, it's based on your income. So in some situations, if you can show a higher income, if you earn a little more wages, your credit could be higher. And that's why they're letting you choose between either the 2019 or what you made in 2021. Now, changes expanding the earned income tax credit for 2021 and future years include single and married couples who have Social Security numbers can file the credit, even if their children don't have a Social Security number. In this instance, they will get the smaller credit available to childless workers, I'm sorry. In the past, these filers didn't qualify for the credit. More workers and working families who also have investment income can get the credit. So starting in 2021, the limit on investment income has increased to $10,000. Now, individuals who are married or couples who are married filing separate who do not file a joint return may qualify to be treated as not married for purposes of this credit if they meet certain requirements. To qualify, the spouse claiming the credit must have a qualified child living with them for more than half the year. The spouse claiming the credit must also have not lived in the same household with the other spouse for at least the last 6 months of the year. Or there's a decree of separate maintenance and they did not live in the same household as their spouse at the end of the tax year. So let's go and take a look at the child and dependent care. Now, you may be able to claim the credit if you pay someone to care for your dependent who is under age 13, or for your spouse or dependent who isn't able to care for himself or herself. The credit can be up to 50% of your employment-related expenses. To qualify, you must pay these expenses so that you or your spouse, if you're filing jointly, can work or look for work. So the way this credit works is the amount you pay, let's just say the daycare, you pay for daycare. So you pay them for one child, you pay them $8,000 in a year. So your credit that you claim on your return will be half of the $8,000, which is $4,000. But if you're in a situation where, say, you pay that daycare provider $10,000, you're still going to be limited to that $4,000 credit. Now, what's happening is some individuals, some employers have a benefit, dependent care benefit to their employees. And that's been increased up to $10,500. Okay. Now, steps to take to get ready to file your tax return. Now that we talked about some of the changes about the refundable credits, let's talk briefly about what documents you need to prepare your return. Now, if you recall that Roy talked about the instances where individuals should file the return if they don't have any filing requirements, it's important to note that the only way to get the enhanced child tax credit, the economic impact payment, is to file the return. In these cases, all you need to do is present your government issued identification, your Social Security number or ITINs. Remember that qualifying children for purposes of the child tax credit must have a social security number, not an ITIN. Okay. Now, what's beneficial about all these credits is that the credits will cover whatever taxes you may owe. But if your credits exceed what taxes that you owe, that's a refund. So that's the benefit of looking and seeing if you qualify for these credits. Okay. Now, the next thing, and I noticed that sometimes it may not be beneficial or cost prohibitive to you to file a return. Maybe you don't have the funds to file a return. Well, the IRS can help you with that. So in order to assist you in filing your tax return, the IRS has partnered with certain vendors in filing your returns at no charge if your adjusted gross income is less than $73,000. The IRS Free File program is a public-private partnership between the IRS and many tax preparation and filing software industry companies who provide their online tax preparation and filing for free. Now, there's two ways you can go about doing this. There's a guided tax preparation where the software will go step by step for you in completing your return, or the free file fillable forms, which the forms are available online. You just fill out the forms and file. Again, you're going to want to file electronically. You're going to want to go ahead and get your refunds direct deposit. Now, all this information is on our website, irs.gov. And in the keyword, just search free file. Now, another service that we have during the filing season is our Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, VITA. VITA offers free basic tax return preparation to qualified individuals, people who generally make $58,000 or less, individuals with disability, and limited English speaking taxpayers. I looked in the area around Duarte, and I found that there's a few sites out there. Azusa Pacific University in Azusa has a VITA site. The Phil Hill and Unity Center in Monrovia has a site. KMA Auto Court has a site in El Monte, and Rio Hondo in El Monte is also preparing tax returns. Now, if you want to find out if there's a location close to you, just go to our website, irs.gov, and in the search, just type in VITA locator, or you can call 1-888-227-7669, and we'll prepare the tax returns at no cost to you. Now, either way you file, make sure you request direct deposit and have those monies deposited to direct deposit to your checking or savings account. But if you don't have an account, we can help you with that too. Just go to our website, irs.gov, and just visit the website, FDIC website, or the National Credit Union Administration using the Credit Union Locator tool for information on where you can find a bank or credit union that can open an account online and how to choose the right account for you. Now, if you're a veteran, on our website, there's a link to the Veterans Benefit Banking Program. Again, you can find all this information on irs.gov. And if you want to check on your refund, you can check your refund at that site as well. Now, we do have an IRS website, but we also have an online account. And on our website, it's a secure access to the latest information that's available about your federal tax account, and for you to see information from your most recently filed tax return. Now, once you create an online account, some of the information that's available to you, you can view amounts from your economic impact payment. You can obtain information regarding the advanced child tax information. You can look at key information regarding your recent tax return and access a record of your account or some transcripts. If you are making payment plans on some past tax that you owe, you can view details about that. There's tax information going back 5 years. Now, the reason I bring this up is that I know we're kind of getting closer to the end of the school year. And I know that a lot of seniors are thinking about college and they're thinking about financial aid. Um, this online account will help you get the information or the tax return information that you need in filling out those financial aid packages. Now, avoid delays and understand how long it takes to get your return processed. Refunds related to the earned income tax credit or the additional child tax credit are not issued any earlier than middle of February. Some returns filed electronically or on paper may require manual review, delaying the process of issuing out your refund. Some things that can cause a delay are systems detect a possible error. There's some missing information, or there's suspected identity theft or fraud. So those letters that we issue to you regarding the child tax credit or the economic refund payments, you want to hang on to those letters. Those informations help you in preparing your tax return. Okay. No, so make irs.gov your first stop when you want to find information related to your tax return. There's online tools there to help you get information that you need. The tools are easy to use and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Millions of people use it to help them file and pay their taxes, find information about their account, and to get answers about their tax questions. So, all right, we're wrapping it up a little bit here, but let me go and just turn this back over to Terry to see, well, I'll return this back to Terry. Okay, there you go, Terry.
All right, Doug, thank you very much. And
You're
thanks
welcome.
both to you and Roy. I know that's a ton of information that we've covered. Before we get into the formal Q&A portion of tonight's presentation, I want to turn it over to Doug Blade. Doug Blade is a management and program analyst with the Internal Revenue Service, and he's going to share some information with you all regarding our issue management resolution system and the process by which you can provide feedback to us. So Doug, I will turn the floor over to you.
Hey, great. Thank you, Terry. Thanks, everyone, for having me in your program this evening. I'll make this quick so we can get to your questions. Briefly, issue management resolution system is part of stakeholder liaison. It's an internal process where stakeholder liaisons can take issues that you have to raise with IRS policy, practice, or procedure, and we quickly can elevate those to the high-level IRS policy owners for a response or a resolution. Now, keep in mind this issue management resolution system, it's not designed to fix individual account issues or tax law questions. We have other areas of the IRS that handle those things. So the intention of the system is to help identify and then seek to resolve widespread issues with IRS policy, practice, or procedure, all to improve the taxpayer experience. IMRS cannot force an IRS policy owner to make a change to policies or procedures, but it does enable us to get these concerns or issues in front of the policy owner. Okay, so just kind of a couple of examples. During the beginning of the pandemic, we put a lot of information that came out because the way we did business changed drastically. And we had a page at irs.gov called the IRS Mission Critical page. And when I say page, it sounds like maybe one page, but really it was pretty lengthy. If it was printed out, it'd be several pages. So what people kept visiting that for new information, we only had one date at the very bottom that it was last updated. And what the IMRS, the issue management request was, could you put a date by each section when it was last updated? So when people return to that mission critical page at irs.gov, they could only look and quickly identify the new information because it had a date beside it that was recent, and the other stuff they'd read the week before when they were there, they didn't need to read that again because they'd seen that already. That's one IMRS. So the other thing we're looking to hear from people on is feedback that we can act upon, because again, we want to enhance the taxpayer experience. Feedback should include comments along with suggestions or recommendations about irs.gov content, news releases, fact sheets, and the content of presentations like the one you've had tonight here. So the feedback we're kind of looking for was, how was the information or the product helpful to you? How could it have been better? Was there something you were hoping to learn that we didn't quite get you that information that you needed? So if you want, you can share your feedback with your stakeholder liaison. Um, so another, just an example of some feedback and some changes that came about there in California, we host through our partners hosts what we call small business workshops. And we had those small business workshops, a program produced in English and Spanish. They said, hey, there's a lot of other languages spoken out here. Can you produce these in other languages? We now have them in 7 different languages. So English, Spanish, Chinese, Russian, Haitian Creole, Vietnamese, and Korean. And then one other quick feedback that we got, people were saying, hey, during COVID, unfortunately, I had to close my business, but I'm not sure what I need to do to close my business out with the IRS. Could you put together a presentation, some outreach material on closing a business? And so that's what we did. And people thought that that was really good timing in being able to share that information. So just quickly in closing, I'm here today just to make everyone aware that stakeholder liaisons have the IMRS, the Issue Management Resolution Program, and that we're interested in your feedback. Your takeaway should be, if you think you have an issue or feedback, don't worry about which is which. Let your stakeholder liaison know. It all starts with you. So for more information on stakeholder liaison, you can type the IMRS, you can search at irs.gov, and just in the search box, type in stakeholder liaison, you'll get some more information on IMRS. So that's all I wanted to talk about. Thanks again. I'll turn it back to you, Terry.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Appreciate your time. All right, so here we are to the formal portion of our Q&A session. You still have time to submit your questions. We did get a couple